what's up? In this video, I'm gonna lay out the 7 single-use kitchen tools that I own as a retired restaurant chef turned food tuber. I'm gonna explain why I think these tools are great and why exactly I think you should have them on hand. I'm also gonna lay out a tidy little short list of single-use items that are extremely non-essential, but fun to have. Before I get started though, I want to quickly lay out what criteria I use to decide whether or not I bring a single-use tool into my kitchen. For everyday use, the tool should ideally check all of the following 6 boxes. Number 1, it saves a significant amount of time, at least 5 minutes. Number 2, it makes the task easier by a considerable margin. 10% easier wouldn't be enough, but 50% easier is. Number 3, it makes significantly less mess than using a more universal tool like your hands, a knife, or a saute pan. Number 4, it increases enjoyment of whatever task I'm doing. For example, tool A may not make the task take less time, but if I suffer significantly less when using it, then I think it's worth it. Number 5, the tool should be easy to clean or maintain. If cleaning the tool takes longer than the task that it's used for, then it's out. And number 6, the cost of the tool should be proportional to the problem that it solves. $70 for making almonds into milk is a very bad deal, but $12 to save 5 minutes and a lot of frustration, that's the sweet spot that we're looking for. So let's get started. The first single-use kitchen tool on this list checks all of these 6 boxes emphatically, and that's a garlic press. Chopping garlic by hand, as you may know, sucks. To break 4 to 5 cloves down into a mince, it usually takes me about 5 minutes. During that time, I'm chopping, wiping my blade, and then regathering the garlic into a tidy little mince pile, and then repeating. As I'm sure you know, the more you chop garlic, the stickier it gets, and that makes the entire process of breaking it down with a knife painful, messy, and really tedious. The garlic press, on the other hand, takes a whole clove of garlic and turns it into minced garlic in 3 seconds. For all intents and purposes, pressed garlic works pretty much the exact same way as garlic that's minced with a knife, with one major exception. If you're gonna be wok frying garlic, you probably wanna chop that with a knife coarsely so that it doesn't burn. Since owning a garlic press, my use of garlic in dishes has gone up like 200% at least. I'm just more likely to add garlic to a dish now on the fly because the price of doing so is gonna be much lower pain, especially if you combine a garlic press with some high quality pre-peeled garlic, which I do. Not all garlic presses are created equal though. I endorse the IKEA garlic press because it's way easier to clean than most other garlic press models that I've tried, and it's very sturdy. I've had this exact same one for I think 14 years. Plus, the lever action of this garlic press makes it pretty easier on your hand. For some reason, it's like higher leverage, so you can smash a garlic through with relatively low grip pressure. Some of the other garlic presses that I've used require man hands to get the garlic pressed through. And you know, most of us aren't alpha males with blue collar hand strength. If you don't have a garlic press, I'll link to this IKEA one in the description. Or if you can wait between 10 and 24 months, I'm actually developing my own garlic press that evolves and upgrades the things I like about this one. So stay tuned for that. Okay, single-use kitchen tool number 2 is a citrus juicer. Not an electronic one though. Those work well, but they blatantly violate rules 3, 5, and 6. Of course, I'm talking about the simple lever action citrus juicer that works equally well for lemons or limes. Let me paint a little scenario here for why this thing is super valuable. It's a hot summer day, you're thirsty for a margarita, so you go to the grocery store and you buy a big bag of limes or lemons, then you get them home, you go to squeeze them. Oh no, what do? I do them with this thing? No, you realize really quickly that that sucks a lot. First of all, it's just hard to get all of the juice out of a lemon or a lime efficiently. And second of all, my hands don't have the endurance required to juice an entire bag to make margaritas for a crowd. Maybe my hands are just weak though. Also, this hand squeezed juice is full of pulp and seeds, which will need to be strained out, assuming you even have a fine mesh strainer on hand. This very basic lever action citrus juicer solves all of those problems perfectly. You can get close to 100% of the juice out of the lemon, and these little holes in the bottom keep the pulp and the seeds on the other side, so you're left with usable juice product right away. Also, a quick PSA here is the proper way to use this is to put the cut side of the lemon or lime facing the interior round part. I see a lot of first timers going round side facing down, and then they squeeze it and they're like, this no work good, me mad. Anyways, this juicer makes the process of getting juice out of citrus much easier. It's cheap, it's easy to clean, it's a great user experience, and I can get 6 margaritas worth of juice squeezed in about 10 minutes. Okay, single-use tool number 3 is a rice cooker. Let me just say that the day that I got this thing was memorable. It was basically a revolution in my home kitchen. Truly, I love eating rice so much, but before I got this rice cooker, I had to make it the old-fashioned way. I don't like doing that though because it's finicky and feels relatively high friction. The rice cooker makes rice perfectly every single time. And once the rice is in the thing, you don't have to touch it. Rice go in, you hit button, then come back later and eat rice. As most of you guys know, I am a professional cook, and that means that I'm aware of the many different ways of cooking rice, and I've done them all a bunch of times. But I still mess up cooking rice like 15 to 20% of the time when I make it on a stovetop without a rice cooker. I don't know exactly why that is, but the error rate is high enough that when I didn't have a rice cooker, I just wouldn't cook rice and I would eat potatoes more often than not. Having a rice cooker has allowed me to eat rice pretty much every single day, which makes for a really high quality life. Also, these things aren't expensive. This Aroma brand cooker I think is like $40 or $50 at Target, and it's done its job perfectly for many years. This tool meets all 6 of the single-use tool criteria. I don't have to babysit it while cooking. It makes rice better and faster than I could do it, and it's easy to clean. What are you even doing if you don't own a rice cooker? The next tool is very single use, but my life is much better since I got it. Tool number 4 is a ground beef musher. If you haven't used one of these before, you're probably thinking, oh cool, that's just a plastic stick with 6 little paddles on the end. Big whoop. Yeah, it is a big whoop because I've spent way too much of my life trying to crumble ground beef into an edible size with a wooden spoon, or even worse, a rubber spatula. Let's back up though, let me explain the context. Cooked ground beef needs to be crumbled down into small particles to taste good. Large nuggets of ground beef are chewy and they have way less surface area for sauce, which is kind of the whole point of cooked ground beef. Think chili, taco meat, sloppy joes, or spaghetti sauce. All of those contexts are well crumbled ground beef sitting in flavorful sauce. When you're browning meat on the stove with a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula, you basically have to choose between having chunky clods of beef or spending 30 minutes meticulously smashing it into smaller pieces. With a ground beef mush, what do we call it? With the proper one of these things, you can get the meat broken down in just a few minutes. As the meat browns, you can just smash it around and it basically falls apart into tiny edible sized pieces very quickly. This tool is not really useful for anything else. You may be able to mash potatoes with it, but you know, I cook ground beef so often and it is so effective that it is more than worth having in my toolkit. It costs like $6. It saves me 10 minutes every time I use it. It's easy to clean and it makes cooking ground beef more fun. You should have one. Okay, before I tell you about kitchen tool number 5, I'm gonna quickly tell you about something that makes snacking and taking your vitamins a lot more fun. Of course, I'm talking about Gruns, the sponsor of this video. Gruns is a comprehensive formula that packs a bunch of different stuff that our bodies need into just 8 gummies a day. It's not just a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a probiotic. It's all of those things at the same time. Gruns wants me to tell you about all of the health features of this product, which I will in just a second. What I want to tell you about is how they taste, which is very good. Alex, give these a try. I actually keep my Grunsies, that's what I call them, in the pantry because when I'm on the prowl for a snack, I see a Gruns, remember I need to get some nutrition, and I eat a pack. One pack of Gruns has over 20 vitamins and minerals plus more than 60 whole foods ingredients. Every pack has a generous 8 gummies in it, which is great for me because that means more snacking. But Gruns actually says they went with 8 because there's no way you could possibly fit the amount of nutrition that they do into just one of these things. I also really appreciate that Gruns doesn't use artificial colors or flavors, and they keep the sugar low. Plus, these things are highly bioavailable, so your body can actually absorb and use the nutrients, helping you hit your daily nutrient target. So if you want a delicious little gummy snack that also helps you fill your nutritional gaps, check out Gruns. I've got a 45% off discount for you guys. Just click the link down in the description. The next single-use kitchen tool is called Jaccard. Most home cooks have never heard of this before, but a lot of restaurants use this on a regular basis. Basically, it's a meat tenderizer. See those little sharp teeth that come out of the bottom? Those break down the proteins in the meat, which makes the meat easier to chew. You can see how great this would be for cuts of meat that aren't naturally super tender, like chicken breast, beef sirloin, or pork chops. Aside from increasing perceived tenderness, another benefit of Jaccarding meat is that it creates all these tiny little perforations which allow marinades and brines to soak much deeper. The Jaccarding process not only makes the meat more tender and more delicious because the marinade penetrates deeper, but it also makes cooking meat way easier. You no longer need to worry about nailing that perfect mid-rare on the sirloin or whatever it is to get that perfect meat texture. So if you eat a lot of meat or you are responsible for cooking it for the people you love, there is a very high percentage chance that the Jaccard is going to make the meat that you prepare a lot more palatable. If you're sick of gnawing on tough grilled steaks or dry chicken breast, then this thing will definitely help. Okay, item 6 is something you guys have seen me use in pretty much every single video. A squeeze bottle. This item is not essential by any means, but I am very, very glad that I have it. The main way that I use it is to add oil to a saute pan or to precisely put sauces on top of foods. Now, this gain in precision is marginal at best, but it makes the experience of cooking a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fun. The main reason I keep these around is adding oil directly into a saute pan. Pouring it out of a glass bottle, like most people normally do, sucks because either way too much oil comes out or not enough. So you either need to waste oil by dumping some of it out, or you need to keep flipping the glass bottle up and down to try and feather the right amount into the pan. And then, oh no, now there's too much oil again. Ooh, to make this into a 2-use kitchen item, I actually use squeeze bottles all the time to sauce foods. I'll throw some salsa or a little bit of crema on there, and then I'll get little perfect laser lines of crema exactly where I want them. So that's a list of core single-use items that I think most home cooks should have in their top drawer. But not all single-use tools worth owning are useful for everyday cooking. The following is a short list of tools that are not useful on a daily basis, and some are pretty weird, but they do the single task that they're designed to do extremely well, and that specific job has high value to me. These are tools that I only pull out once a month or a few times a year, but when I do, I'm so glad that I own them. And the last tool on this list is so dumb, but it's great. The first tool up is a waffle maker. I bought a waffle maker 3 years ago for my Waffle 3 Ways video, and I have been shocked at how often I make waffles and how much I love waffles now. Call me Leslie Nope. I only use it 4 or 5 times per year, and usually when family's visiting and I want to make kind of a fun brunch situation. But in my opinion, 4 to 5 times a year is more than often enough to justify owning a waffle maker. I don't know if you've ever had a fresh 1-inch thick Belgian style waffle before, but they are sick. My waffle maker was like $160, so it's not really in line with rule number 6. The cost of the tool is proportional to the problem it solves. But here's another Cuisinart that's like $60. It's got good reviews, and I'm sure that it can make great fancy breakfast once per quarter. I'll admit that cleaning the waffle maker isn't the best, but the experience of making and eating fresh waffles is so joyful, and that more than compensates for the extra bit of toil afterwards. I kind of equate making waffles to putting on a vinyl record. It's slow, tactile, memorable, and the process part is just as enjoyable as the consumption part. Now, I don't think everybody needs to own a waffle maker, but this tool does its job really, really well, and the food experience that it delivers is worth having one in the basement. The next non-essential but excellent single-use tool is style-specific pizza pans made by the Lloyd Pan Company. I've got Lloyd's Detroit style pizza pan, I've got their East Coast bar pizza pan, and I've got their Chicago deep dish pan. All of these pans are made for one purpose: to bake a very specific style of pizza dough to its highest potential. In fact, some of the classic pizzerias that invented the regional styles of pizza have actually started to use these Lloyd pans because they are so well made and they do their job perfectly. Owning these pans is the prerequisite to making those styles of pizzas at home. If you don't have the right pan, then you basically can't make that style of pizza. I mean, you can approximate it with other pans like brownie pans or sheet pans, but this thing does most of the work in making Detroit style pan pizza. If you use a sheet pan or something else like that, you're not even gonna get 75% of the results that you're looking for. These Lloyd pans are heavy duty, thick, and they're treated with some proprietary process that makes them non-stick in even the most extreme conditions. You can get dough and cheese as browned as you want, and at the end of the bake, it slides right out. I'm the type of person who just enjoys making all of the different types of pizza at home, so I think having a collection of pans specific for each style is a totally worthy investment. The Detroit pizza that I've made at home is just as good or better than the pizza I had in Detroit, and the Chicago deep dish that I can make with the Lloyd pan is as good as Malnati's or Giordano's and getting close to Pequod's quality. The next semi-ridiculous single-use tool that I love owning is a Takoyaki pan. Takoyaki, if you're not familiar, is a little fried dough fritter that you buy on the street in Japan, and it's usually filled with steamed octopus and topped with smoky bonito flakes, mayo, and this inky sweet brown sauce. Now, this pan is not even in my top 100 most used kitchen tools, but I'm so glad that I own it because every time I look at it, it reminds me that I can make takoyaki anytime that I want. Now, I maybe only make it one time per year, but when I do bust it out, it's a great time. Just like for the pizza pans, you can't make takoyaki without a takoyaki pan. The pan is the format. The cooking vessel provides the context for the thing to exist. But yeah, takoyaki is just fun, and it's part verb, part food. You can invite your friends over and they can takoyaki by frying their own dough balls, then stuffing them with the things they like. Then you can all stand around enjoying the very tactile process of eating them while drinking ice cold beers and listening to Japanese city pop. The pan costs about $20, so it's a very small investment to have something on hand that can bring a little bit of structure to an adult hangout, in the same way that having Settlers of Catan in your closet or a deck of cards might. It's just all around fun, and I love owning it. Ooh, also, one last thought I have about this is that most people don't live in New York or Tokyo where you could go easily get takoyaki, so the eating experience that this little pan provides is gonna be novel for everyone involved. Okay, the second to last single-use kitchen tool that I love owning, despite it not being that practical, is this little perforated baguette pan. You know, you use it to make baguettes, or more specifically, a squishy, crusty little sandwich roll that's sandwich focused. This pan basically is designed to recreate banh mi bread or some kind of hoagie type thing. For most people, making bread at home is very rewarding, but probably too challenging, especially when you start talking about shaped hearth breads like baguettes or boules. You just need a lot of experience to get those things right, and you need elaborate baking setups to help everything rise properly. Most people aren't gonna even bother messing around with that. But what you can do pretty easily as a beginner is just throw some chunky tubes of bread into this pan, let them gas up, and then bake them off and see what happens. This pan ups the forgiveness of bread baking at home by at least 50%. The sloped sides hold up poorly shaped loaves and allow them to bake more or less into the shape that they're supposed to be. The last tool is extremely niche, pretty cheesy. I can't believe it works, but it's the only tool for the job. Of course, I'm talking about a taco shell frying mold. I can't believe this made it into the video. Let me explain. Crunchy ground beef tacos are on a short list of the best textural food experiences a human being could possibly have. But without a doubt, the easy ways of having this experience are all bad. You could go to Taco Bell or Jack in the Box and buy these tacos, and that is diarrhea waiting to happen. Or you could buy the pre-fried shells from the store. Those are usually stale and almost universally horrible. Since all of these options are bad, I decided one day that I needed to figure out how to make crunchy shells myself. Now, there is an America's Test Kitchen recipe from like 20 years ago that shows you how to fry the shells at home with 2 pairs of tongs. I've done that method literally dozens of times, and it has allowed me to host some of the best taco parties in human history. But that method is super time consuming, and it's actually a little bit dangerous. And the results can be mixed unless you really know what you're doing and you've had a ton of practice delicately frying those shells. So when I was brainstorming ideas for how to bring this amazing taco experience to you guys, I stumbled upon the taco shell mold. I was very skeptical at first, but I decided to give it a try. And lo and behold, it makes taco shells that are very consistent and very, very good. They're puffy, they're crunchy, they're insanely delicious, and they're unlike anything you've had from Taco Bell. I want to say that I took this a step further too and modded this tool aftermarket. It comes very widely shaped, but you kind of have to squeeze both of these in to make it look more like a Taco Bell shell. But once you've made that adjustment, you're in for a real treat. It costs like $14 to get this thing set up, but then you're able to have the best taco parties of all time for the rest of your life. This is an insanely single-use tool, but I think it checks most of the boxes that I listed at the beginning of this video, and the results are super worth it. So if you plan on having crunchy tacos sometime in the near future, which you definitely should, buy one of these things. Watch my crunchy taco video first, because that'll walk you through the whole process of how to fry these things safely. Am I selling you guys on this thing? I feel like I need to insist that you give this a try. Crunchy ground beef tacos are better than pan pizza. And that's a crazy thing to say, but I mean it. Let me know in the comments what tools you guys think I missed in this video and what single-use tools you swear by. I want to hear about all the weird ones too. If you guys like this more gear-focused video format, then I'll link on the screen right here to another video where I lay out how to build an entire set of cookware and kitchen tools for only $300 USD. I'll see you there.